Kaylin.
My name's Janine. Why do you always sing it? You always sing it.
It's a good joke.
Okay, sorry.
When she doesn't think it's a good joke.
Okay, who are we?
The real lady.
I thought you were gonna sing it. Killers. We're the worst.
Wow. No, you're just stifling my creativity.
It's just you sing it every time.
Okay, then I'll never sing again on this show.
Please sing.
I'll never sing again on the show. I'll never be traumatic again. It's over. This show ruined our friendship. Anyway, today we're doing a paranormal story.
Hello.
I got a good one for her.
I'm really
gave me
excited.
a little sticker.
I did. It has a little cat butt on it.
And I am doing the story of The Exorcist.
Ooh!
You knew this, so
I did, but no, I forgot about it though. I did forget about it.
So I'm doing the true story behind The Exorcist.
I'm actually very excited because I did completely forget that that's what you were doing, and I'm happy.
Okay. So, in Georgetown, Washington, D.C., a 12-year-old girl named Reagan plays with a Ouija board. She contacts...
Bad idea.
Yes, she's an idiot. She contacts an imaginary friend named Captain Howdy, and after this begins acting super, super strangely, including making mysterious noises, stealing, constantly using obscene language, and exhibiting abnormal physical strength.
I mean, what's new? That's me every day.
What's new?
The obscene language, making weird noises. Like, that's me on the daily.
Reagan begins speaking backward in different voices and exhibits scars that form the words "help me" on her stomach. Reagan is mega possessed.
Just the most possessed. She's just like, she's not even just possessed, she's just like the most possessed you've ever seen in your entire life.
Like, you look at her and you go, you're possessed.
You're possessed. Like, girl, you're possessed.
You're like, what possessed you, Satan? Yeah.
You're possessed.
So, like, both priests that, like, are working on Reagan witness her perform a lot of gross shit, like throwing up pea vomit, like pea soup vomit and stuff. And eventually Reagan goes back to her normal self via exorcism. Her head also, like, rotates on itself.
Whoa.
Anyway, that was just the whole
like,
plot.
Actually?
No, this is the plot to the Exorcist movie that I just literally read aloud to you and waited to see you call me out on.
I've never seen The Exorcist.
Yeah, no, that was just the plot of the movie. No, that happened.
Yeah, okay. I was like, I remember the pea soup, and then you said she turned her head around, and I was like, back it up. Whoa.
Why I was just running through this so quickly?
I was like, even if, like, she was possessed, like, physically, how do? I was like...
Satan.
Satan. Why am I so dumb? Okay.
I just was like, let's see how long we can go on
Well,
this.
I was also confused because you were like, the story of The Exorcist was actually, it happened to a boy. And I was like, oh, wait, so we started off with a girl? And I was just, I'm gullible. It's fine. So, anyways, she played me, but it's fine.
Okay, so that's the whole plot of The Exorcist movie, which is actually very different than the real story of The Exorcist.
Okay. Just an inspiration.
It is just the inspiration. The inspiration was specifically the exorcism of a boy named Roland Doe, who's also known as, like, Roland Hunkler, Robbie Hunkler, Robbie Mannheim, like, because he's a minor. And also, like, the church protected him. We don't really know his, like, identity.
Roland Doe. What if I name my son Roland Doe?
It's kind of a fun name.
Roland Doe.
Roland Oaks.
Roland, like rolling in the dough, but Roland Doe.
I didn't even think about that. It does sound like that.
I didn't really think about it until I said it out loud. I was like, Roland Doe. Roland Doe.
Rolling in the homie money.
It's like that lady who named her son Squire Sebastian Senator because she wanted him to be, like, powerful and, like, be rich and, like, have success. So if I
name Absidy because literacy.
Because then she doesn't, she knows how to spell her name, like, right off the bat. But what if I actually name my son Roland Doe just to, like, in the hopes that he'll actually roll in the dough?
It's not a bad idea.
I don't mind the name Roland.
Like,
I don't mind the name Doe, but Roland Doe.
I feel like someone might see it on a job app and be like, you know what, we should make him Roland Doe.
Just Roland and Doe. I mean, he seems confident about it. Okay.
Anyway, so the inspiration specifically comes again from Roland Doe and various other names.
Roland Doe.
Which I'm just going to mix them up entirely. Basically, if you hear a Robbie or a Roland, it's the same dude.
Okay.
But the inspiration for the actual movie comes from the 1971 novel The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, and the 1973 film adaptation was what I just described to you guys earlier.
That she just completely played me with.
Yes. So, our setting is actually the Belle Noire neighborhood of St. Louis, specifically a colonial style house on Roanoke Drive. So that's like
Roanoke. Already kind of ominous because it's like on Roanoke Drive, like.
That's true. Different part of the country, but yeah.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah, the
whole,
lost
like,
civilization.
Yeah.
Of Roanoke.
I already have like the ominous feeling of it, you know.
What is the like thing that was carved in the tree? Was it
Croatian? Croatoan.
Croatoan.
Do you know why I know that?
Why?
Supernatural. There was an episode on it.
I was like, because isn't that what was carved into the tree? Is it just like Croatoan? But before we get to Roanoke Drive.
Okay, sorry.
I was like, I need to backtrack it. We're actually going to start in the 1940s in a suburban Washington, D.C. neighborhood with a family allegedly named Hunkler or Mannheim. Mannheim comes from historian Thomas B. Allen. Like, we don't know this dude's name. Anyway, so I'm just going to call him Mannheim or Robbie or Roland. That's what I'm officially doing.
That also reminds me of Full Metal Alchemist because his name is Hohenheim and everyone just refers to him as Hohenheim the entire time. Maybe can we just refer to him as Hohenheim?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Hohenheim was... I love
it.
Hohenheim was Mannheim, was an only child born into a German Lutheran Christian family, and during the 1940s they lived in the American city of Cottage City, Maryland, which is outside of D.C. Pseudonyms given to Robbie's parents in literature regarding the subject are Mr. and Mrs. Doe, Carl and Phyllis Mannheim, Carl and Phyllis Hunkler, etc. Since Robbie was an only child, he depended upon adults in his household for playmates. Like, I kind of had the same thing, even though I have two older brothers, but they're so much older, so I vibe. He was especially close to his Aunt Harriet, who treated Robbie more like a special friend than nephew. Okay, so I kind of hate the way that the article I stole this from says special friend, but I think it's just that they were very close.
Okay.
There's nothing creepy, I don't think. Anyway, his aunt was an avid spiritualist who also professed Christianity, and she saw Ouija boards as a means of contacting those who had passed on to the next world. Like other spiritualists, she did not heed the biblical admonitions against consorting with spirits. Therefore, she introduced Robbie.
Shout out to Robbie!
We have to keep that. He'll die. He actually watches it.
Just reference a friend named Roby.
Yeah. So one of my best friends is named Roby, and I love him. He's a regular watcher / listener.
Our fave subscriber of the week.
So she introduces Robbie to Ouija boards because he expresses some interest in it, and he would like dabble in it with his aunt whenever like he would come over.
Big mistake. I'm telling you now.
Big mistake. So Robbie was like an average boy other than that, where he like read comic books, listened to the radio. However, on Saturday, January 15th, 1949, Carl and Phyllis Mannheim went out for the evening, leaving Robbie and his grandmother Wagner alone in the house.
Bad idea. That shady grandmother.
Shortly afterwards, a dripping sound started in the house, despite the fact that every faucet was checked and nothing was leaking. In an attempt to locate the origin of the dripping sound, both Mannheim and his grandmother noticed that a painting of Christ began to shake.
Oh, honey.
Later, when his parents arrived home, the dripping activity totally stopped, but new noises were heard. Raps and scratches, which Carl Mannheim initially labeled as a mouse or a rat. Maybe, okay? Like maybe.
Maybe. Solid maybe. A strong maybe.
There was some desperation during this. Carl Mannheim, Robbie's father, tore up the floorboards and ripped down wall panels to find the rodent, but couldn't find any.
Oh no, honey.
On January 26, 11 days after the beginning of the scratching sounds, Robbie's aunt died in St. Louis, and Robbie was devastated. As a result,
he's going to communicate with, try to communicate
with her. As a result, he tried to contact his deceased aunt via Ouija board, as he had been very close with her. This is what led to opening the spirit world and his demonic possession. So, according to the Church of England and the Anglican Communion, the Church of England holds that possession does not happen on its own accord. One cannot catch demons like they catch like the common cold. You have to put yourself in a vulnerable position, like we were talking about, and then you can get possessed. Inviting a spirit into one's body is the greatest risk, and with Ouija boards, you often kind of invite spirits in.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's into your body, but
I get with that. Yeah, I can get with that.
A view of Mannheim grappling with Ouija, presented by Orlando de Oliveira, a former witch doctor, states that occult spirits desire to possess human bodies because that gives them a physical apparatus with which to act and speak in a physical world. So it's like, I want to tell you, like, Satan's going to eat all of you and you're all dead. So I'm going to take the body of a little boy and do it. So according to those involved in the case, and also those, like, reportings to media, around the time of Aunt Harriet's death, the scratching noises in Grandmother Wagner's room ceased, but lots of other shit starts happening. By the way, they think the poltergeist activity that happens like before either was just poltergeist activity that's like typical sometimes, or they thought that them playing with the Ouija boards all the time probably like brought some spirits in, you know? So some new poltergeist activity starts happening, including squeaky shoes sounds and marching feet. And then, like, other strange noises and furniture just moving and ordinary objects, including a vase, flying and levitating around.
Casual, a Saturday night for me.
I love it when my vases fly.
Just, like, casually.
My vases.
They happen all the time. Like, I don't know what's the problem.
It's just the wind.
It's just a strong draft.
It's just the wind, darling. It's just the wind. You're being silly.
Yike.
Stupid girl. Anyway.
Dumbass.
Scratches started appearing on Robbie's body, and blessed objects, such as a container of holy water, which were placed near him, smashed to the ground on their own. This, like, phenomena that was happening to Robbie wasn't confined to his home, but it followed him wherever he went. Like, while he was at school, Robbie's desk lurched into the aisle and began skittering about, banging the desks of other classmates. 48 witnesses came forward to substantiate this case.
Oh, man,
and
that's
these
a lot.
Unbelievable incidents that occurred. And, like, so all these people were like, yeah, that happened.
That's creepy because that's not even just, like, hearsay this happened. Like, if there's 48 official reports of, like, crazy things happening, that's scary.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And, like, they're teenagers.
Yeah.
Like, I would 100% as a teenager been like, no.
Yeah.
You're stupid.
It's not even just, like, 3 or 4 being like, oh, something shady, or, you know, like, it was a weird situation. Like, 48 people were like, yeah,
like, his whole classroom,
crazy.
basically. It was like,
That's not right.
Yeah.
Okay. Big yike.
In early January 1949, shortly after Harriet's death, again, Roland began to experience strange things. Water, like, dripping kept happening from, like, pipes and walls. And most troublingly, his mattress would, like, move all the time.
Oh.
According to reports in the Evening Star, a Washington, D.C. newspaper, in light of the situation, the boy was examined by both medical and psychiatric doctors who could offer no explanation for these disturbing events. So, they were like, the church! So, they contacted a Lutheran clergyman, Reverend Luther Miles Schultze, for help to arrange the boy. And they arranged for him to, like, spend the night on February 17th in, like, their home to, like, just observe what was happening. So the boy slept nearby to the minister in a twin bed, and the minister reported that in the dark he heard vibrating sounds from the bed and scratching sounds on the wall. During the rest of the night, he witnessed some strange events. A heavy armchair in which the boy sat seemingly tilted on its own and tipped over, and a pallet of blankets on which the sleeping boy lay inexplicably moved around the room. In light of his observations, Reverend Luther Miles Schultze concluded evil was there.
Deaf. Very
like,
possessed.
He was like mega possessed.
The most possessed.
So possessed. Hella possessed.
Just like,
girl.
wow.
Girl.
Wow, you're very possessed.
Girl, get that checked out.
Like, oh, honey.
So he performs a Lutheran rite of exorcism on Robbie.
Robbie just, like, freaked the heck out.
He was like, spits pea soup. The boy underwent an exorcism under auspices of the Anglican Episcopal Church. After this, the case was then referred to Reverend Edward Hughes, who was a Roman Catholic priest. So we're just getting non-denominational exorcism work here.
They don't discriminate.
No. Reverend Edward Hughes, the Roman Catholic priest, began examining the boy at St. James Church and conducted an exorcism on the 14-year-old boy at Georgetown University Hospital, a Jesuit institution at a hospital. That was legal somehow. Anyway, during the exorcism, the boy inflicted a wound upon the pastor, costing him to have to get stitches. And as a result, the exorcism ritual was stopped and the boy was sent home with his family.
Oh, no.
While Robbie Mannheim was in his house, he screamed, and his family saw the words, St. Louis, written upon his chest in blood. This was the city where his Aunt Harriet had died.
No, man.
The family then proceeded to take a train to St. Louis because they're like, this is a sign. We need to go to St. Louis. That's what this demon is telling us. Or whatever.
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, why would you follow the advice of a demon?
Listen to anything that demon's trying to tell me.
Why in the world would you be like, yes, sir?
No, ma'am. I'd be like, that's funny.
So while they're in like the city, Robbie's cousin contacted one of his professors at St. Louis University, Reverend Raymond J. Bishop, S.J., who in turn spoke to Reverend William S. Bodern, an associate of College Church. Together, both vicars visited Robbie in his relative's home, where they noticed his aversion to anything sacred, that his bed kept shaking, that there were flying objects just like whizzing around all the time, and Robbie was speaking in a demoniacal voice.
Demoniacal?
He was like deep and like scary and
I didn't like that.
Just inhuman sounding,
I don't
apparently.
like that.
In light of these observations, Reverend Bodern sought permission from the Archbishop to have these plaguing demons cast out of the boy, an exorcism. The Archbishop approved the exorcism with 3 stipulations. 1, that Reverend William S. Bodern would be in charge of performing the exorcism upon Robbie Mannheim. 2, Reverend Bodern was to keep a detailed diary of the deliverance, or the exorcism. 3, that Reverend Bodern was not to disclose his position and the location of the ritual, the 5th floor of Alexian Brothers Hospital, which worked real well, seeing as we know it was the 5th floor of Alexian Brothers Hospital. His position and location of the ritual.
But I guess like no one else. This was the like contract, but like no one else like at the time knew.
Yeah, I guess after the fact it's different. But anyway.
I mean, we wouldn't know those rules. The public wouldn't have known those rules because it was probably in contract.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Okay, so before the exorcism begins, Reverend Walter Halloran was called to the psychiatric wing of the hospital, where he was to assist Reverend Bodern in the deliverance. Reverend William Van Roo, third Jesuit priest, was also there to assist Reverend Bodern in the exorcism. During the exorcism, Robbie spat in the eyes of the pastors, despite the fact that his eyes were closed. So he somehow knows where they are. He's just like, So Reverend Halloran stated that during the scene of spiritual warfare, Robbie's hospital bed shook disturbingly. A vessel of holy water went soaring through the air, and the words evil and hell, along with other various marks, appeared on the teenager's body in blood.
I don't like that.
Moreover, Robbie broke Reverend Halloran's nose during this process. So Robbie Mannheim, while being exorcised, often shouted in an abnormal tone of voice, the demoniacal voice, which was unlike his normal tone of voice. In total, the exorcism ritual to cast out demons from the boy's body was performed 30 times over 2 months.
Oh my God.
The clerics asked the demons when they would flee, who responded to Reverend Bodern and Reverend Halloran that they would depart when Robbie uttered the proper words. Eventually, Robbie Mannheim said, Christus Domini, or Christ Lord. When these words were spoken...
Sorry, so they asked the demons what it was going to take?
Yeah, they're going to be like, what would take you to leave?
And the demons were like, this. Is that what happened?
Well, they were just proper words. You have to say the right thing.
How did they know that that's what the demons said?
From Robbie says
it. Robbie says it. I was very confused.
They're
speaking through Robbie. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So eventually Robbie goes, Christus Domini, or Christ Lord, and when these words are spoken, there were reports of a loud noise or a thunderclap or shotgun throughout the floors of the hospital. And after all this, Robbie Mannheim declared, it's over, it's over. The room in which the deliverance was performed was then sealed off in order that none would be able to re-enter the area. So while this is all going on, according to reports, there was a pattern in Roland's or Mannheim's behavior. He was calm and normal during the day, but at night after settling in for bed, he would exhibit strange behavior, including screaming and wild outbursts. At one point during this week-long ordeal, Bodern reportedly saw an X appear in scratches on Roland's chest, which the priest believed signified the number 10. In another incident, a pitchfork-shaped pattern of red lines moved from the boy's thigh and snaked down towards its ankle. These types of things happened every night for more than a month, and everyone witnessing the events believed that Roland or Mannheim was possessed by 10 demons.
Oh.
The two priests never gave up. On the evening of March 20th, the exorcism reached a new level. He urinated all over his bed and began shouting and cursing at the priests. Eventually, his parents had enough, so they take him to, as I said before, the Alexian Brothers Hospital.
Okay.
So this is, like, leading up to here. So, yeah. So after all this, there's, like, no more documented instances of strange occurrences and behavior. And allegedly, he went on to live a completely normal life from that moment on. So no one would have known about the true story of Roland Doe, if not for an article in the Washington Post, which was reported in late 1949, with very few details, that just confirmed that priest had performed a successful exorcism. In 1971, an author, as I said before, William Peter Blatty, penned the best-selling novel The Exorcist based on the unofficial diaries kept by Halloran and Bowdern about the exorcism, because they were required to keep diaries on it. The book stayed on the bestseller list for 54 weeks, and it spawned the hit movie in 1973. So they took, like, tons and tons of liberties, including turning this 14-year-old teenager into a 12-year-old girl named Reagan and not a boy named Roland or Robbie. The movie's story also takes place completely in Washington, D.C. in the Georgetown area, which is sort of true, but, like, most of the dramatic parts of the exorcism for Roland/Robbie happened in St. Louis. Yeah. Although the scratches, shouting, spitting, red lines on the skin, and cursing in the movie mimicked what Roland/Robbie had experienced, the boys had never turned 360 degrees like Reagan's did. Similarly,
that's not physically possible.
No. And Roland and Robbie never vomited green matter.
Or pea soup.
Yeah, nothing. And he didn't use a bloody crucifix to masturbate.
Oh, that happened in the movie.
Yeah.
Why did we need that? Why did we have to add that?
So, following the exorcism of Roland Doe,
I'm uncomfortable.
His family moved back to the East Coast. Yeah, I didn't include that in the initial write-up because I was like, Janine won't sit through this.
I always forget about that. I'm like, that makes me very uncomfy.
Right.
We're moving on. Okay.
So it's to say that Roland/Robbie has a wife and started a family. He allegedly named his first son Michael after the saint he believed to saved his soul. If Roland/Robbie is still alive today, he would be in his early 80s.
Oh, wow.
The identity of Mannheim has never been truly revealed. However, he is reported of having no memory of being possessed.
Yeah.
Most of the information regarding him and the events surrounding his possession and exorcism come from secondary and tertiary sources. Around the time of the events, there were several newspaper articles printed attributed to anonymous reports, which were later traced back to be from the family's clergyman, Reverend Luther Miles Schulze. Another article was written on the subject in January 1975 of Fate magazine titled The Truth Behind the Exorcist, so it's after the movie has been released. This article alleges to reveal previously unknown details from a diary kept by one of the priests involved in the exorcism. Two other main sources include the testimony of Reverend Walter H. Halloran. He said that streaks and arrows and words such as hell appeared on the boy's skin. The other is the diary kept by Reverend Raymond J. Bishop, who was also, like, there. Another author, Mark Opsasnick, claims to have independently investigated these events and spoken to people involved in the case, including several people close to Mannheim and his family, other priests in the parish, a source at the hospital mentioned in the claims, and even Alan Halloran. Bowdern, who, like, led it, died in 1983. He lived until he had served in the Catholic Church for decades. Halloran lived until 2005 when he died of cancer. So he was the last surviving member of the main team that performed the exorcism.
That's not that long ago, 2005.
No. The room in Alexian Brothers Hospital was boarded up and sealed following the exorcism.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I would.
Like, it's bad juju.
Yeah.
The entire facility was torn down in 1978.
Yeah, I would do that too.
Yeah, it's smart.
Throw it all out.
It's gone.
Like, none of it.
Throw the baby with the bathwater.
Literally. When it comes to that, I'm like, bye.
Bye. The house where the family lived in Maryland is now an empty lot after it was abandoned in the 1960s.
Yeah, that too. Bye.
So, in 1993, author Thomas B. Allen wrote a nonfiction book entitled Possessed, The True Story of an Exorcism. In writing the books, which relies heavily on Halloran's detailed accounts, Allen claims to have uncovered the true identity and story of Roland Doe, but says he will never reveal the person's name. As for the Cozy House on Roanoke Drive, it sold to new owners in 2005 for $165,000. A lot of people embrace the property's legendary status of being like possessed and like Satan inhabited.
I would be Big Yeet from me. A no, that's a no from me. I would not mess around with that. Mm-mm.
So I think it's easy to just kind of accept like these religious like rationales behind exorcisms and demonic possession, but here's some psychiatric interpretations of what probably might have gone down that are just possibilities, and good to kind of keep in mind.
Right.
So popular psychiatric interpretations include dissociative identity disorder, or DID / multiple personality disorder, but it's not called that anymore. Tourette syndrome, which seems a little stretch, but is cool.
Maybe a mixture of those.
Schizophrenia, sexual abuse, group hysteria. Like, we're all dealing with, like, a folia do or, like, a folia group.
Quad. Folia quad.
Terry D. Cooper, PhD, a psychologist with doctorates from Vanderbilt University and St. Louis University, as well as Cindy K. Epperson, a doctoral fellow at the University of Missouri, have analyzed the case of Robbie Mannheim and have come to the conclusion that normal psychological explanations cannot account for the claimed events in totality. Their explanations are offered here. They say that there is a possibility of dissociative identity disorder, again, which involves a disturbance of identity in which two or more separate and distinct personality identities manipulate the individual's behavior at different moments, whose treatment consists primarily of psychotherapy. Although some symptoms of dissociative identity disorder line up with Robbie's behavior, Cooper and Epperson criticize this explanation because it fails to explain how Robbie's symptoms suddenly disappeared after the exorcism ritual, since psychotherapy is a slow and tedious process and a lot of people don't really get over it.
Yeah.
Moreover, Robbie Mannheim displayed no previous history of multiple personality disorder early in his life. According to Cooper and Epperson, labeling Robbie's condition as dissociative identity disorder also fails to explain the strange paranormal activity associated with the case to which 48 individuals testified.
See, that's the big thing for me, is like 48 people.
Yeah,
it's not even
it's
just
a
a handful of
lot.
people. It's a lot of people.
No, and it's like, that's just...
Not including like the priest who did the exorcism.
Like a stake in the game.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but like friends of his, like random people in school being
yeah,
like,
they're
yeah,
like, that was not great. Yeah.
Like, what?
Not a fun time.
So, like, the big symptoms of Tourette's are multiple tics, which can include blurting or inappropriate comments. So, like, indeed, he had those. Like, he was using a lot of foul language during his exorcism ritual, albeit he no longer swore after the exorcism, and Tourette's doesn't really, like, go away like that.
Yeah.
Dr. Cooperson and Dr. Epperson argue that reducing Robbie's entire set of circumstances to this simple disorder does not do the case justice. It's simply implausible that a young man with Tourette's was able to fool 9 Jesuit priests, hospital personnel, and all the family members. Moreover, Tourette's syndrome is treated with medication and counseling. It doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
Schizophrenia. So this is like what they have to say on schizophrenia. So in case you don't know, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, schizophrenia often interferes with a person's ability to think clearly, to distinguish reality from fantasy, to manage emotions, make decisions, and relate to others. The first signs of schizophrenia typically emerge in the teenage years or early 20s, so it makes sense that he had not had previous signs previously. So it is often treated with antipsychotics. But psychologist Cooper states that Robbie is generally too young to have developed schizophrenia. 14 is pretty young for that. Cooper also argues that Mannheim never became psychotic, but rather remained coherent throughout the process and did not receive any medication or psychotherapy for his condition. So, like, he didn't have to have psychotherapy to, like, get through it, and he was fine after. According to a Christian argument, the Maryland youth went on to lead a healthy existence, whereas schizophrenia and other dissociative disorders are often lifelong and require extensive psychiatric treatment. Moreover, Robbie Mannheim never had a relapse, which is weird.
Yeah.
Some allege that Robbie Mannheim could have been sexually abused by Aunt Harriet, so special friend might have been the right word. There is actually no evidence to support this assertion. Even though there is like high prevalence of sexual abuse in society, most individuals who have been sexually assaulted or abused do not delineate Robbie's behavior. Like, that's not really what happens when you've been sexually abused.
Right.
And like, you don't suddenly just like say, hey, a demon's in me.
Yeah. Casually.
So some people are like, oh, group hysteria. However, Robbie's 48 witnesses were spread out in different locations. They're like all over. For example, Robbie's shaking bed was reported by numerous individuals both in Washington, D.C. and St. Louis.
So like at different hospitals.
Yeah.
They were like, that's shady. Okay.
So it's not just like a group like feeding into each other.
Right.
It's like a bunch of different people in a bunch of different
48
places.
people. Like,
It's a lot of people.
yeah.
So some medical experts have been like maybe automatism or obsessive compulsive disorder, although the physicians and psychiatrists who examined Robbie Mannheim did not find any evidence to make these conclusions. A new hypothesis, anti-N-methyl-D-aspartate receptor encephalitis, has been suggested to be the cause for acute devastating behavioral discontrol resembling demonic possession, but who knows? And that is the story of Robbie Mannheim, Roland Doe, Roland
Rolling in the
Hunkler,
dough.
whatever you want to call
Hohenheim.
him. The true story. Hohenheim, Ho Youheim, Ho You Got It.
Oh, you Weheim. What?
Ho Satan's in you. Possessed as hell. Whatever you want to call him.
Heckin' possessed.
That is the story of the Exorcist.
Yeah, he was possessed. Like, I mean,
I believe in demons.
I believe it. I feel like no matter what your religion is, I think that like spiritual warfare, like
Totally a thing.
angels and demons are definitely a thing.
Like whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, whatever.
Like,
ghosts, spirits, demons.
whatever you deal with.
Whatever.
We all have different names for
Shikigami.
them. But like, the fact of the matter is we all have, like, in different cultures, we're all like,
Yeah.
there's spirits around. And I feel like we would, like, you would just see one culture. Like,
Right.
if it were just fully made up.
And like different cultures and different religions, there's like spiritual warfare in all of them. And I think that is, yeah, I mean, I think he was
telling.
possessed by something sketchy. And I do believe that like Ouija boards are kind of like a portal thing for you being like, hey, what's up? Fuck with me. You
and
know,
then they're like,
I
you got it! Like,
Yeah.
I'm totally down to do this.
like
I
down
have been
diggity down.
living. Down diggity. Down to clown. Let's go. But yeah, no, I totally
Yeah.
believe in demons. Like,
Yeah.
that's not even a question for me. I just wanted to go through. I thought it was interesting that these were actual, like, psychiatrists who were
Yeah,
like,
they went
none
through
of
the
this
case.
works. Like, you can believe he was faking it. And I think that's their, like, big thing, that it's like, it's either he's faking it or he's not. Psychiatric illness doesn't account for it.
Right.
And
Well,
that,
it's
and I
like-
think that's a fair point to get to, where it's like, he's not mentally ill. It's A or B.
But how can you explain the like dozens of random people who would just see his bed shaking whenever he wasn't even like apparently conscious? Like, how do you just make a mattress shake?
I guess you
know?
could say everyone's like lying, but like that's
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people to get
in
to
different
lie.
places
Yeah.
to get into the story, and it's at official accounts. So
Yeah.
that means like,
People are putting their reputation on the line.
yeah, I mean that means they're either going to the police or it's recorded. It's not just like hearsay 48 people. That's like it's being recorded as it's happening.
Yeah. No, it's hard to say.
He was possessed.
Janine's now
possessed.
just a literal like priest, and she's like, I can tell he was possessed.
He was possessed.
I mean,
I
we have to
solved
look
that
at him.
last case. I solved the impossible murder, and I saw this one too. Possessed. It's kind of like the end of like Ghost Adventures when they're like busted. Oh no, Mythbusters.
You're like,
busted.
but then you're
Not
like,
busted.
am
I'm
I
like,
Shane then? Or are you Ryan Bagara? Because you're like possessed.
I mean, you're definitely a Shane,
Oh,
and I think I'm a Ryan. So
that's charming. I
Okay.
would not see myself as a Shane.
I think you have. I think you have Shane's more personality. I think we're both kind of like Ryan in the way that we believe things. But like I feel like dynamic wise,
That's fair. I
I'm
feel
more
like
of a
you
Ryan,
are
you're more
more
of a Shane.
like, I think you're more invested in it than I am. I'm more like, could be true.
I'm just like you. I was like, I wouldn't have even included the mental like things. I was like, no, he's possessed. I'm
He's
like,
gone. And I'm
God.
like, who knows?
Demons.
Like, straight up, who knows? Like, I think it's wild that he doesn't remember it, and
Yeah.
I trust that because, I mean, why wouldn't you just sell a tell-all book?
yeah,
So I think it's interesting that he is, like, lived out of spotlight.
yeah.
Because I'm like, if he was faking it for, like, fame or something like that, you would
Like he would
use
be
it.
pulling a Tana Mojo and like
Mongoose.
Tana Mongoose. Pardon. I mean, he was definitely possessed, so that's fine. That's moral of the story. Heckin' possessed.
Heckin' possessed. Well, if you enjoyed that, make sure to press the like button to let us know.
Because we won't know.
We won't know otherwise. We'll just cry and be like, no one liked this.
The real story. We wish we were kidding. Please like our channel.
Subscribe, press the bell notification item so that you can make sure you get notified every time we make a new video. Leave a comment down below and say whether or not you think he was possessed or mentally ill. Hey. And then make sure to also follow all of our social medias listed down below.